I think that the Miami game, and this is another game that I was like really proud of the fact that we previewed this thing perfectly. I saw somebody had commented on the segment going into this game, and they said, you didn't explain why Miami's going to win. All you did was talk about how they're not overlooking USF. And as this game was happening and after it was over, I couldn't help but keep thinking about that because that's so much more important than I think some people realized. If they had not upset Florida the week prior and they didn't play Florida, it is such a situation where any team could have gotten caught off guard by USF. The direct preparation and not overlooking a G5 opponent, an elite G5 opponent, and playing and executing the way that they did in all facets. They ran the ball well. They were physical in defense. They played tremendous contain like we talked about in the preview. They keep executing, Blake, against teams that they need to execute against. And it makes me really have a lot of faith in this Miami team that they will win the ACC this year. This team is different than it was last year. They have shown signs of growth, and I'm also incredibly excited about Carson Beck and the way that he continues to play. I'm in on this Hurricanes team. I've been in on the progress. I've been a supporter of you guys. That was another game that I think makes me feel pretty confident about them.
If you, through 3 weeks, if you gave me the best player in the country today, it would be Carson Beck.
I agree with that. Him and Stockton, but Beck's got 2 back-to-back good performances. Or not back-to-back, with 2 good performances.
Funny how they both of them were at one time on the same roster. They physically dominated South Florida. Yeah. And I think the thing is when you have a team like South Florida that's coming off of 2 ranked wins, can you emotionally get up? And it was a big talking point. I mean, here's the thing that I don't agree with the person who brought up your take. You brought up that they're more talented at every single position. They were. You talked about how on both lines of scrimmage, they were going to push them around. They did. You were talking about that the speed at wide receiver was going to get to them. It did. I don't want to hear that you or I didn't break down the game, because go back and listen to it. The problem is that you knew what you just saw against Florida, and emotionally, could you get up for a third game? The score was lopsided. It's not how the game played out. South Florida threw every single punch that they had because they knew that they had to, because they couldn't keep up offensively unless they scored touchdowns. And that's why the turnovers on down. Joe, they think they had 3 of them. They had a pair of turnovers. It wasn't as close. It wasn't as bad as it seemed on the final score sheet. However, Joe, this Miami defense and offensive lines are literally putting their hand in the dirt and beating the dog shit out of anybody that gets in front of them. They did it in Notre Dame. They did it last week, and they absolutely clapped the ever-living cheeks out of South Florida. Now you got, hear me out, a really good defensive line coming in. You're going to be mad at this. I think the best defensive line that you faced. Have the Florida Gators checked out? Have they checked out? That's a real question. Yeah. How does DJ Lagway respond? We'll get to that tomorrow. The thing is, Joe, that is the most impressive about all this. Fletcher is a downhill runner, and he's absolutely killing anybody in front of him. You found something in Tony. CJ Daniels made another ridiculous catch, and Carson Beck might be, as of right now, through 3 weeks, the best player in college football as we sit here, far from being over. Joe, it's their offense and defensive lines. I can't believe that Ruben Bain is still allowed to play college football.
He's so good, dude.
If he is so not the number 1 overall pick,
he won't be, but he's still a really good player.
Oh my God, dude! Oh my God! Oh my God! I mean, he just killed them. Their lines of scrimmage might be the best in the country if they can keep playing.
So that's the biggest thing that we talked about in the preseason when we talked about going into these games, is that they have the physicality to really overwhelm their opponents. And that was why, for this specific preview, when we talked about the game last week, is that as much as USF has these exciting athletes that are really hard to stop, they're going to maul USF. And they did. Yeah. And that's now going to happen, I think, against Florida, when we'll talk about in the preview.